I remember the crack of that rifle like it was the devil himself splitting the sky open. It tore through the Wyoming dusk, sharp and merciless, as my mare, Daisy, let out a gut-wrenching whinny. Blood sprayed hot across my face, her body bucking wild beneath me like she was fighting off a demon. Then she crumpled, folding like a house of cards in a gale, pitching me straight into that jagged gully. Rocks bit into my skin, tearing at my arms and dress, and my ankle twisted with a sickening snap that drowned out my scream. The world spun in a haze of dust and pain, the golden light fading fast as I hit the bottom hard. Breath knocked clean out of my lungs. It was 1876, and I'd fled New York's suffocating grip, those endless rows of brownstones hiding debts that piled up after Mama's fever took her too soon. Papa had been gone years before, lost at the sea on some merchant voyage, leaving us nothing but echoes and empty promises. I'd answered an ad in the paper for governesses out west, dreaming of fresh starts in places like Cheyenne, where a woman could teach and build something real. But the wagon train I joined turned to hellfire when outlaws hit us at dusk, bullets whizzing, men shouting, horses screaming as they bolted. I grabbed Daisy and run, blind into the wilderness, thinking I could outpace the chaos. Foolish girl that I was now, alone in that godforsaken ravine. I clawed at the dry earth, my auburn hair tangled with sweat and grit, sticking to my neck like a noose. The pain in my ankles shot up like wildfire, white hot and unrelenting, making my vision blur. Twilight crept in, cold fingers wrapping around me, and the distant yips of coyotes sent chills deeper than the bone. Lord, I whispered, my voice ragged against the wind, don't let me die out here like this, forgotten in the dirt. I've got fight left in me, please, send something, anything. Tears mixed with the dust on my cheeks, and I thought of Mama's gentle hands, how she'd read me stories of brave women taming the unknown. Was this my end? Broken and bleeding in a land that chewed up dreamers like me? That's when I heard the hoofbeats steady, deliberate, cutting through the haze. My heart hammered, fear twisting with hope. Was it the outlaws circling back, or salvation? I tried to sit up, but the pain pinned me down, a whimper escaping my lips. A shadow fell over me, broad and tall, blocking the last slivers of sun. He dismounted with the grace of a man born to this wild country, his boots crunching on the rocks as he approached, rifle slung low but ready. His face was weathered, etched by sun and hardship, with keen hazel eyes that scanned me like he was reading a trail sign. Who done this to ya, ma'am? His voice was a low growl, rough as gravel, but laced with something almost gentle. He knelt beside me, his callous hands hovering, not touching yet. Bandits, wagon train, I murmured, the words slurring as darkness tugged at the edges of my sight. My leg throbbed, twisted at an angle that made bile rise in my throat. Shot Daisy, left me for dead. He cursed under his breath, words I wouldn't repeat in polite company, his jaw tightening like a coiled spring. Damn rustler's been hitting these trails hard. You're lucky to be breathing. Without another word, he shrugged off his duster, a heavy, oilskin thing that smelled of leather and smoke, and wrapped it around my shivering form. His touch was surprisingly tender for such a rugged man, lifting me like I weighed no more than a sack of feathers. I gasped as pain flared, but he held me steady against his chest. His heartbeat strong and rhythmic through his shirt. Easy now, he muttered, his breath warm against my hair. Name's Luke Harlan. Got a spread not far from here. You'll be safe. I wanted to protest, to ask who he was, why he'd risk it for a stranger. What exhaustion claimed me as he swung us both onto his Mustang. The ride was a blur of jolts and stars wheeling overhead, each step of the horse sending fresh agony through my leg. But through it all, his arms stayed firm around me, anchor in the storm. Faintly, I caught the scent of hempine resin and earth, mixed with something wild and untamed. It stirred a strange comfort in my chest, like finding shelter after a lifetime of rain. His homestead appeared like a mirage against the pine-dotted hills, a sturdy log cabin, with a stone chimney puffing smoke, a corral with a few head of cattle lowing softly, and a barn weathered by countless storms. He carried me inside, the door creaking on iron hinges, and laid me on a bunk piled with quilts that smelled of fresh hay. The room was sparse but lived in, a cast-iron stove, shelves lined with dog-eared dime novels about outlaws and heroes, and a faded tintype on the mantle of a young woman with sad eyes, his sister, maybe, a loss that mirrored my own. He stoked the fire until warmth flooded the space, chasing the chill from my bones. Then he turned to my leg, his face grim as he cut away the hem of my blue wool skirt with a knife. The break was bad, a clean snap, but the swelling bloomed purple and angry. This ain't gonna be pretty, he said, fetching a bottle of whiskey and wooden splits. I've set bones on steers and ranch hands, but you're different. My eyes widened in terror as I stirred fully awake. Where am I? Are you a Dr. Sawbones? He shook his head, his voice steady as a rock. Just a cattleman, ma'am. Luke Harlan, like I said. Found you after that shot. Your legs busted good weight for a real doc, and you might never walk straight again. Panic clawed at me. I was Eliza Hawthorne, a tutor from New York, bound for Cheyenne to sheep young minds. Not to be crippled in some frontier shack. But his eyes held no lie, just a quiet resolve that made me swallow hard. I'm Eliza, I said, my voice trembling. Eliza Hawthorne. I was heading west to teach. But now, tears welled up, unbidden. Not if I can help it, he replied firmly, pouring whiskey into a tin cup. Drink this, it'll dull the edge. I'd never touched spirits before. Mama would have fainted at the thought, but necessity won out. I sipped, coughing as it burned a trail down my throat. Fire me, fire. He handed me a leather strap. Bite down. This'll hurt like hell. Our eyes locked as Hazel won steady, mine wide with trust I didn't know I had. I nodded, clamping down as he braced my leg. The pull, the twist, it was agony, a scream ripping from me despite the strap. Stars exploding behind my eyelids. Then blackness swallowed me whole. When I came to, dawn's light filtered through the chinked logs, painting the floor in soft gold. My leg was splinted tight, throbbing but set. Luke sat in a chair by the bunk, his revolver across his lap, eyes ringed with fatigue. He hadn't slept, that much was clear. Fever hit hard last night, he said, rising to pour coffee. Kept it down with cool rags. You're tougher than you look, Miss Hawthorne. I managed a weak smile as he helped me sit up, our fingers brushing in a way that sent a spark up my arm unspoken, but real. Call me Eliza, and thank you for everything. I thought I was done for out there. He cleared his throat, uncomfortable with the praise. Anyone would have done the same. Coffee? As I sipped, the warmth spreading through me, I studied him. Broad shoulders from years of wrangling cattle, a scar along his jaw from some old fight, and those eyes haunted, like he'd seen too much of the world's cruelty. You fought in the war, didn't you? I asked softly, sensing the shadows. He nodded curtly. Union side. Lost kin at Gettysburg. Came west to forget. His voice cracked just a fraction, and in that moment, I saw the man beneath the grit, a soul as battered as mine. Over the next days, a rhythm settled. Luke rode out at dawn to check his fences and herd, returning dust-covered and weary, but always with a check on me. I'd lie there, pain ebbing slow, reading aloud from his tattered copy of Shakespeare Hamlet's soliloquies filling the cabin, with words of loss and longing. His laughter, rare but deep, warmed me more than the fire. Never heard it like that, he'd say, his gaze lingering a beat too long. One evening, as thunder rumbled outside, rattling the shutters, I confessed my fears. Back east, they called me a spinster at 25, said a woman's place is marriage and hearth. But I wanted more teaching, independence. Now, with this leg, am I just broken goods? He knelt by the bunk, his hand covering mine, rough but warm. You're no such thing, Eliza. Out here, strength ain't about what's proper, it's about surviving. And you've got that in spades. His touch lingered, a pull between us like gravity, stirring feelings I'd buried deep. Was it gratitude? Or something more, forbidden in this wild land where class and convention still whispered judgments? A knock shattered the moment, sharp and insistent. Luke's hand flew to his revolver, but he opened the door to reveal Sarah Wilkins, a sturdy widow from the next spread over, her teenage son Jed trailing behind with a basket. Sarah's face was lined with frontier wisdom, her gray-streaked hair pinned back practical. Heard tell of trouble on the trails, she said, pushing past. And you missed the supply run, Harlan. Figured you got yourself shot or something. Her eyes landed on me, widening. Lord Almighty, who's this? Luke explained quick, and Sarah, once a nurse in the war, insisted on checking my leg. Good work, but she'll need salves and proper wrapping. I'll bring em tomorrow. And dresses can't have you in rags. Jed, a lanky boy with freckles and a shy grin, hung back, peppering Luke with questions about tracking rustlers. You really stared down that gang last year, Mr. Harlan? Alone? Luke ruffled the boy's hair. Stories grow tall out here, Jed, but yeah, sometimes a man's gotta stand. When they left, I teased Luke, you're a legend, it seems. The lone wolf who saves the day. He flushed, turning to the fire. Just doing what's right. Folks like Sarah, She lost her husband to fever to winter's back. We look out for each other. That night, as rain lashed the roof, I felt a shift. Luke wasn't just my rescuer, he was a man carrying his own wounds, and in his quiet strength, I saw a mirror to my resilience. But whispers of doubt crept in. What would the town say about an Eastern lady holed up with a cowboy? Scandal or fate? The pull between us grew, a slow burn that promised healing. Or heartbreak. Weeks blurred, my leg mending under Sarah's visit. She became a fixture, bringing gossip and grit, her stories of taming this land making me laugh till tears came. Jed tagged along, wide-eyed at my tales of New York theaters, begging for more. Sounds like magic, Miss Eliza. One sunset, I hobbled on crutches Luke had whittled from pine, stirring a pot of stew as he returned. The aroma filled the cabin and his eyes lit up. Smells like home, he said, voice thick, over supper. I mentioned a letter from my cousin in Chicago, offering a safe return east. His fork still. That what you want? My heart raced. A month ago, yes. But now, you've shown me I can be more than broken. Our gazes locked, the air charged. He reached across, his hand enveloping mine. Eliza, I ain't good with words, but since I carried you in here, something stirred. Like life ain't just surviving anymore. Our first kiss was tentative, then fierce, tasting of coffee and longing. But as thunder rolled distant, societal shadows loomed, whispers of impropriety, class divides. Could love bridge this wild chasm? Suddenly, shouts outside, rustlers hitting the herd. Luke grabbed his gun, bursting into the night as bullets cracked. I loaded a rifle from the bunk, heart pounding, firing into the dark. Chaos reigned, but in that moment, our bond forged in fire. The gunfire echoed long after the rustlers fled into the night, their shadows swallowed by the Wyoming darkness. I leaned against the cabin doorframe, rifle still hot in my hands, my splintered leg throbbing from the strain of standing. Luke staggered back, a graze on his arm leaking blood through his shirt, but his eyes burned with triumph. You winged one. Eliza turned the tide. His voice was hoarse, admiration cutting through the exhaustion. I bandaged him by lamplight, my fingers trembling not just from fear, but from the raw pull between us. I couldn't just lie there, I whispered, tying the cloth tight. Not when I thought I'd lose you. Our foreheads touched, breaths mingling, and in that quiet aftermath, the kiss we shared earlier deepened into something undeniable, a promise amid the peril. But as coyotes howled their mocking chorus, rumors of the gang's leader, a notorious brute named Black Jack Riley, slithered into my mind. Whispers from Sarah said he never forgave a slight. Was this just the beginning? Morning brought a fragile peace. Luke rode out early to tally the losses. 5 had gone, but the herd mostly intact. Sarah arrived mid-morning, her wagon creaking under supplies,